Hey, hey, how are you all? Oh, let me first say I do not own the copyrights to this music in the background. We are live. Hey, Miss Shonda, how are you? Hey, Miss Shamika, how are you? Hey, Princess, how are you all? I'm doing good, Shamika. Thank you for asking. Hey, Miss Vanessa, how are you all? How are you all? Uh-oh. All right, you guys, we're gonna get a. I'm doing good, Miss Vanessa. I am doing good. Thank you for asking. I hope you all have had a productive day. Uh-oh. I stopped the music. That's okay. I'm gonna give a few more minutes. Just one more minute. Just get a few more people on. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As always, I appreciate it. I really do appreciate you all taking time out at the end of the day and tuning in. Okay, so we're gonna go on and get started. Give me 1 second. Okay, well, let's get started. All right. So, as always, you guys, as I said earlier, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to tune in to Wellness Wednesday. Um, just a reminder, Wellness Wednesday was created to encourage, to uplift, and to inspire. Hey, Hey, Odell, how are you? Thank you for joining. To uplift, encourage, and inspire. So I hope that at the end of this, that you, when we get ready to log out, that you leave encouraged, uplifted, and inspired. So tonight we're going to talk about something. We're going to be kind of brief with it, but we're definitely going to dig into it. Um, and then I want to talk about the month of June at the end of this. So, as you all can see, that our topic for tonight is, can you dig it? Can you dig it? Blessed over here, yes sir, yes sir. No better feeling than being blessed. Can you dig it? And I was looking, you know, I was looking in Genesis chapter 26, and it was just so interesting to me, the different things that, um, well, first let me say, the most interesting part is that God has a way of blessing you regardless of what the circumstance is. Just like, we've been in a pandemic for quite some time, but it does not hinder or stop God from blessing you or making a way for you. So, he can bless you right in the midst of trouble. He can bless you right in the midst of a storm, in the midst of trials and tribulations. He is able to do that. And so we're going to look at Genesis chapter 26, which is talking about Isaac. Now, Isaac at this point is grown. He's married to Rebecca, and there is a famine in the land. A famine in the land, and we know that when there's a famine, that means something is there's it's without something. There's a drought. There's a lack of something. But I am so thankful that even when there seems to be a lack, God has a way of making a way for you. Like He is our source of our supply. He's the source of our strength. So anytime we feel like we're without something, we can always go back to our source. So often we depend on things and we depend on people, but your job is not your source. Your job is a resource that God blesses us to have. But truly, He is the source that even when the job may phase out, the position may phase out, people may leave, God is still there. He is still a provider. That's why David says in Psalms 23, the Lord is my shepherd. And we know that as a shepherd, what a shepherd does, as a shepherd, he provides for the sheep. He makes sure the sheep has a place to sleep. He makes sure the sheep has something to eat, something to drink. He provides for it. So David understood the role of a shepherd because he was one. So he is our provider. So when we look in Genesis chapter 26, and you all feel free to come in and make your comments, ask questions. Let's have an open dialogue here. In Genesis chapter 26, let me go back up to a couple of verses, and then we'll go down to verse 12. And verse 1 says, now there was a famine in the land of Canaan besides the previous famine that had occurred in the days of Abraham. So Isaac went to Gerar, to Amalek, king of the Philistines. Now, if anybody's familiar with the relationship between the Philistines and the children of Israel, that they know that the Philistines were enemies of Israel. They didn't get along. But here it says that Isaac went down to Gerar, to Amalek, king of the Philistines. The Lord appeared to him and said, do not go to Egypt. Stay in the land which I will tell you. Live temporarily in this land, and I will be with you and bless and favor you. For I will give you all these lands to you and your descendants, and I will establish and carry you out the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. So listen, the Lord told him, don't go to Egypt. Because Egypt would have been the ideal place for him to go. But he said, no, I want you to stay in this place. Now, mind you that there is a famine, but you want me to stay in this place. So he goes on and he says, go down to verse 6. It says, so Isaac stayed in Gerar, where the famine was. The men of the place asked him about his wife. No, that ain't the part I want to read. Verse 6 again. He stayed in Gerar. Why did he stay there? Because the Lord told him to stay in this place. Now, a lot of times, and I was just talking to the ladies, one of the ladies at work about some things and how I wanted to move out of a certain place because I was beginning to be feeling frustrated and feeling burnt out with it. But the Lord told me to stay there. And then had I left, because I tried to leave a couple of times, had I left, I would have missed something. So regardless of what the situation looked like, if the Lord says stay there, then guess what we need to do? Stay right there. Stay right there. So it said Isaac stayed there. Now let's go on down to verse 12. And so it said, then Isaac planted seed in that land as a farmer and reaped in the same year 100 times as much as he had planted. Now, here's the thing. This is how you know that God's hand was on him. Not only was God's hand on, but God's favor was on him. It said Isaac planted seed in that land and reaped in the same year 100 times as much as he had planted. And the Lord blessed and favored him right in the midst of a famine. He planted the seeds and he reaped 100 times more than what he did. Now imagine had he gone to Egypt. He would have missed what God had for him right there in the midst of this famine. So it says, and the man Isaac became great and gained more and more until he became very wealthy and extremely distinguished. He owned flocks and herds and a great household with a number of servants. And the Philistines envied him. The Philistines envied him. All Isaac did was what the Lord told him to do. And the Philistines envied him. They hated him. There are some people who are not going to like it that you're blessed. There are some people who are not going to like it that your name is known. There are some people that are not going to like that you're flourishing in a season where everybody's in the midst of a pandemic, but you are not suffering at all. Everybody's complaining about the gas price, but you just going to the pump like the prices are regular and you're not complaining about it. Why? Because God blesses. He provides for his own, but you have to understand that there's some participation required on our side, on our behalf. So Isaac had something he had to do. He had to obey what the Lord told him to do, and he had to get out there and work the field. And so it said that the Philistines envied him. They envied him. And said, verse 15 said, now all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham, his father, the Philistines, stopped up by filling them with dirt. Now, we know that what a well provides. A well provides water. We all need it. We need it we drink it, we take a bath in it, we use it to cook, we use it to water things. We need water for a number of things. It's an essential thing that we need. So here it is that the Philistines stopped it up. And I wonder, why did they fill the wells? And what I read was that the Philistines filled the wells to pollute, to clog, or to render them useless for the descendants of Abraham. And that's just like the enemy. He would try to block, he would try to stop and try to hinder the flow of things in your life. Because the water has to flow through the well or out the well. And so their hatred for God and his people was so high that they were filled to hate. Yes, Odell, to hate. They were filled to murder them by shutting off the water, that the supply that all of society needs to thrive. So it's not something that we can go without. We need water. So here they're trying to shut it off. And I'm telling you, that's what the enemy does. He will try to shut off your blessing. He can try, but he cannot prevail. Not against what God has called, not against what God has blessed. He cannot. So it goes on to say that then Amalek said to Isaac, "Go away from here, because you are far too powerful for us." Look at them. First, they envied him because he had gained wealth and he had become distinguished. So he had grew. And so now, and the Philistines had covered the water, buried the wells, so they couldn't get the flow. So they stopped that. And now they envied him. And now the king is saying, "I need you to go." Hey, Miss Jessica. No, they cannot take our blessing. No, they cannot. They can only take it if you give it. So he said, "I need you to leave because you become too great for us." There's some people, as God begins to elevate you and take you to different places and different heights, they're not going to be able to be around you. Why? Because some people want you to stay small because it makes them feel big. Some people want you to stay in a place where you have to depend and rely on them. And once you no longer need to, then they'll find a reason to push you away. And that's okay. It's okay. Because wherever I am, I'm still favored. Whether we're friends or foes, I'm still favored. So it says, wait. So he told him to go away from here because you're far too powerful for us. So Isaac left that region and camped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. Now here's the thing, and here's where the topic, can you dig it? This is where we're starting at. This is where I get this from. It's not Isaac again dug and reopened the wells of water which had been dug in the days of Abraham, his father, because the Philistines had filled them up with dirt after the death of Abraham, and he gave the wells the names that his father had given them. But listen to this. When Isaac's servants dug in the valley and found there a well of flowing spring water, the herdsmen of Gerar quarreled with Isaac herdsman, saying, "The water is ours." Listen, have you ever felt like things beginning to flow in your life and things begin to look up, but then here comes the enemy with something, and then they try to stop you and try to hinder you, and you be like, "Wait a minute, things are flowing in a good way. Things are flowing in the way that you expect them to flow, and then now you're quarreling with somebody." So the first well, he named it Esek, which means quarreling, or the well of dispute. Because now they're arguing with him, saying, "This is ours." No, it's not yours. Because if it was yours, why would you stop it up? It was not theirs. Those wells belong to Abraham, which rightfully now belongs to Isaac. So now he's dug this well. Here come the Philistines wanting to take it back. Okay. Hey, you ever feel like, look, every time I get moved one step forward, look like I get pushed 2 steps backwards? But the question is, can you still dig after a bout of disappointment? After a little hindrance, after some turbulence, can you still dig a little while longer? Can you dig some more? So now it says that because they quarreled with him, then his servants dug another well. So here he is digging again. He didn't stop because of the opposition that come on here, Odell, come on. Now, you have to stay focused. You really do have to stay focused. And sometimes you got to fight to stay focused. So here he is again. After the first well he dug, and they quarreled with him over it. And he was like, "You know what? I'm just going to dig again." In the midst of it all, you have to keep on digging, keep on pressing forward to what God has promised you. So he said, then his servants dug another well, and they quarreled over that also. Now look here now. Now look, I gave y'all the first well. Now it's one thing that I gave you the first one, and then I dig again. Here I am digging another time, And then here's another flow. And now here you come again, trying to stop me and trying to hinder me. And that is the work of the enemy. He wants to hinder us. He wants you to give up. He wants you to stop. He is relentless. And just like he is relentless, you have to be relentless. We have to be relentless in our pursuit and what God has for us. Because if God said it's mine, then guess what? It is mine. It's the same way when God promised the children of Israel the land of Canaan. They didn't just walk in the land of Canaan and took and possessed the land. They had to run the enemy out. So there's always going to be, it seems like there's always some opposition when God blesses you. There will always be some opposition. And as the opposition is there, either it's going to strengthen you, it's going to fuel your fire to keep going, or it's going to cause you to tuck your tail and run. Don't forfeit your promise because you got a little opposition. Keep moving. Keep fighting because this is mine. And you got to let the enemy know you come with it because I'm about it. I'm ready. I'm with it. I'm ready. So here we go. So he dug the second time. The first time they took it, the name of that well was Essek, the well of dispute. The name of the second well was Sitnah, the well of opposition. We're going to be faced with some opposition. There may be some dispute. Now, here it is. It says, he moved away from there and dug another well. Do you know how much faith it takes to keep going when you've been faced with opposition? When you've been in spiritual warfare? When you've been faced with discouragement? When you've been faced with disappointment, when you've been faced with being let down, when you've been faced with seeing like every time you move forward, you get pushed back, when you've been faced with setbacks, when you've been faced with people trying to set you up, do you know how much faith it takes and how much strength it takes for you to dig again? Because at some point you may say, you know what? I'm not doing this again. I'm not going to keep digging and allowing the enemy to take it. And see, that's what the enemy wants you to do. Look at Job's life. The enemy wanted Job. The enemy was so convinced that Job was going to curse God, was going to turn his back on God. So he touched everything. And if anybody had reason to just say, forget it, it was Job. Job lost everything. And he got bad news after bad news after bad news after bad news. And yet he said, though he slay me, yet would I trust him. He had every reason to give up. But he hung on in there. And in the end, God blessed him. God blessed him. He had an increase. So keep pushing, keep fighting. I know it gets tiring. Digging. I'm a country girl. I'm from the country, so I done been playing digging holes outside, playing with them. And I done had to dig holes because my granddaddy was a farmer. So we had to do it. For whatever reason we were digging holes for. I don't know. But it requires physical strength. Because you're digging, you got to step on the shelf and dig it up and toss the dirt and all. I mean, after so long, your arms get tired. After so long, you get fatigued. After so long, you be like, look, this is not worth it. I don't want to do this. But once you dig in and you keep digging, you'll see it is all worth it in the end. It is all worth it. So keep digging. So it says he moved away from there and dug another well. This is the third time, you all. This is the third time. This is the third well. And he dug again. And they did not quarrel over that one. Listen, don't give up. The enemy trying to wear you out. But the more you keep pressing forward, I truly believe that you begin to wear him out. And he has to give up and say, you know what? These folks are relentless. They're not giving up. And so he said he named it Rehoboth, a broad place, or the well of plenty room. Listen to me. I need you to lean in a little bit. When God makes room for you, even your enemies will have to get out the way. God will make room for you. And in any place, whether the enemy likes it or not, and regardless of what he tries to do, God will make room for you. He will make a way for you. So it's as if God had enlarged his territory. So I want to ask you a question tonight. Can you dig it? Can you continue to dig when it seems like all hope is lost? Can you continue to focus on what God told you to do? Can you continue to go after that promise? I know it's tiring because digging, like I told you, it requires some physical strength. It requires some endurance. It requires some longevity. It requires you to put it all in. Come on, O'Day, I see you in the chat. I can dig it. Yes, sir. I can dig it. Why? Because I know what God told me. And God gave Isaac a promise in the beginning. He said, I need you to stay right there. I need you to stay right there. God made Isaac great in the midst of a famine. He kept digging, you all. In spite of what it looked like around him, he kept digging. And God made room for him. Not just room, he made plenty of room. It was a broad space. And when God gets ready to expand you, yes, princess, keep digging. In spite of the opposition, in spite of the quarreling, in spite of the dispute, in spite of how you feel, in spite of what it looks like, keep digging. As Odell said in the chat, I can dig it. I can. And even if I don't have a shovel, I'm going to find a way. I'll borrow one. I use what I have. And that's another thing we don't dig, because we look at what we don't have and say, well, I can't do it because I don't have a shovel. You don't need one. Find something else. Use what you have. So you got to get past the excuses. You got to get past, because you got a word from the Lord. So keep digging. Okay? So can you put that in the chat? I can dig it. I can dig it. I can dig it. Yes, I can. I can dig it. Yeah. So I hope that this has been helpful to you, and I hope it's encouraged your heart, that you may be in a tough place right now, maybe in a place of uncertainty. You may be having your own little personal famine in whatever area of your life, but God says, stay right there. I'm going to bless you right there in the midst of it. There you go, princess. I can dig it. Yes, I can. Not only can I dig it, I'm going to keep digging it. Keep digging and watch God make room for you. Not just a little space, but plenty of room. Like the prayer of Jabez, enlarge my territory. That's what he's going to do. All right. So that's that about digging it. Y'all keep digging. So this is the last Wednesday in the month of May, and June is on the horizon. You all, I am so excited about June, what we have planned. June, for the entire month of June, every Wednesday will be dedicated to the men. And what we're doing is I Crown You King. And it's there. We're doing this to encourage our men and to remind them that they are needed, that they are loved, that they are valued. And we care. We care about them. So we are going to encourage our men every Wednesday in the month of June. I have some awesome, awesome, awesome guests that's gonna come in and pour into the men. Oh yes, I do. I mean, I reached out and I was a little nervous about asking some of them, but they was like, okay, I do it. And I was like, yes, come on with it, come through with it. And they are equally excited about it. I will be posting the flyer of my first guest come Sunday. Yes, come Sunday. So y'all bring your dad, your uncle, your cousins, your brothers, your sons. Bring your significant other, bring your husband, your boo, your bae, your boyfriend, whoever he is, whatever man in your life that you know that needs some encouragement, bring them in. Tell them that the month of June is for them and that we're going to crown them king because we want the men to get back in their prospective places, that we honor them, and I am so excited. So y'all make sure y'all tune in and come on and invite and share and tell somebody, tell some man, say hey, share the flyer with them and say, come on, Wellness Wednesday is ready for you all to crown you king. So I am excited. As a matter of fact, one of my guests is on here tonight. I ain't gonna tell you who it is. You might already know. But anyway, he up in here. And I'm so thankful, so thankful, so thankful, and so appreciative for it. So you guys, I hope that your heart is encouraged. I hope you feel inspired. And I hope you feel uplifted. And until next time, y'all tune in because remember, the month of June is for the men. I crown you king. And until then, you guys, I love you and thank you for tuning in. See you next Wednesday. Bye.